The Sutra of Contemplation on Amitabha Buddha, Lesson 1.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Master. Today, we will be reading and understanding the Sutra of Contemplation on Amitabha Buddha. The sutra is quite long in length. It's a very auspicious sutra with valuable content. The knowledge it contains is very important. This sutra will deepen your understanding of Amitabha Buddha and the realm of the Western Paradise. It'll reveal everything you need to know about that realm and the way to reach it. It's a long sutra. In order to help you understand it better, I'm going to divide this into several lessons. Throughout the lessons, I think we'll receive auspicious blessings from the heavens and the deities. When the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas pay us a visit, if you have wishes that you want fulfilled, they might come true, you know. Alright, let's start today's lesson. I'll read out the original text, followed by my explanation. You'll understand better that way. Before we start, let's chant the name of Buddha for auspicious blessings. Let us put our palms together.
Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha.
Alright, let's begin. Opening verse. The unexcelled, most profound, and exquisitely wondrous Dharma is difficult to encounter throughout hundreds of thousands of millions of eons. Since we are now able to see, hear, receive, and retain it, may we comprehend the true meaning of the Tathagata. This sutra is called the Sutra of Contemplation on Amitabha Buddha. Sutra says, "Thus, have I heard, at one time, Sakyamuni Buddha was staying on Vulture Peak near Rajgir City, with a great assembly of 1,250 great bhikkhu and 32,000 bodhisattvas, led by the Dharma Prince Manjushri. My understanding of this part. I've heard from Buddha that, on one occasion, there was an assembly of Sakyamuni Buddha with 1,250 bhikkhu and 32,000 bodhisattvas. The assembly was led by Dharma Prince Manjushri. Sutra says, at that time, in the great Rajgir City, there was a prince named Ajatasatru. He followed the counsel of his evil friend Devdatta and arrested his own father, King Bimbisara. He confined him in a cell surrounded by walls 7 layers deep, forbidding any officials or ministers from going there. My understanding. At that time, there was a prince in Rajgir City called Ajatasatru. under the influence of his evil friend Devdatta. He imprisoned his own father, King Bimbisara. The wall of the cell imprisoning King Bimbisara was 7 layers thick. Imagine a small, confined space with walls that thick. Ajatasatru was planning to starve his father to death. He forbade his officials from visiting the imprisoned king. Next, Sutra says, the queen, whose name was Vaidehi, remained loyal to the king. Purifying herself by bathing, she anointed her body with honey and wheat flour, and filled her ornaments with grape juice. She then offered them to the king in secret. My understanding, the queen whose name was Vaidehi, stayed loyal to the king. Knowing that the prince was planning to starve his father to death, she knew she had to do something. After cleaning herself thoroughly, the queen put a paste consisting of honey and wheat flour on her body. She also filled her ornaments up with grape juice. In ancient India, the royal family members wore heavy ornaments made with gold and silver. In order to help with the weight, it was often made hollow in the middle. Because it was hollow in the middle, the queen was able to fill them up with grape juice or other kinds of juice beverages, and bring them to the king's cell secretly. The king being her husband, it'd be too obvious if she just brought a basket of food to the king. The guards would stop her for sure, but being the queen, the guards would still let her in if she went empty-handed, so she just went by the guards wearing her usual clothes and ornaments. They let her in like that. At that time, the king ate the flour paste and drank the juice, then asked for some water. Having rinsed his mouth completely, he respectfully placed his palms together, and facing Vulture Peak, bowed to the world-honored one from a far distance. He said, "Great Maudgalyana is my friend. I beg for your compassion to initiate me in the 8 precepts." Thereupon, Maudgalyana flew to the king like a swooping eagle. Day after day, he came like this to initiate the king in the 8 precepts. The world-honored one also sent the Venerable Purna to expound Dharma to the king. My understanding, after King Bimbisara ate the flour paste and drank the grape juice, the king asked for some water to rinse his mouth. Then, he put his palms together and faced the direction of Vulture Peak. That's where the assembly I mentioned was held. And then, he said, "Great Maudgalyana, you are my closest friend. Show your compassion and teach me the way of the 8 precepts." At the end of his speech, Maudgalyana flew in like an eagle to where the king was being held prisoner. And proceeded to teach the king the way of the 8 precepts day after day. The Venerable Purna, one of Sakyamuni Buddha's disciples, was also sent to expound Dharma teachings to the king. Alright, next. Sutra says, 3 7-day periods passed in this fashion. Because the king was able to eat the flour and honey paste and to hear the Dharma teachings, his countenance became peaceful and joyful. My understanding, 21 days passed like this. The king fed on honey flour paste and grape juice, as well as listened to the Dharma teachings. The king's appearance had improved. he looked happy, peaceful and in great spirit. Next, Sutra says, at that time, Ajatasatru questioned the guard. Is my father, the king, still alive? The guard replied, Your Majesty. The queen anoints her body with flour and honey paste, and fills her ornaments with juice to feed the king. The monks, Maudgalyana and Purna, come from the sky and expound Dharma to the king. It is impossible to stop them. Hearing this, Ajatasatru became enraged with his mother and said, My mother is a criminal, and with criminals does she associate. Those evil monks used illusions and incantations. They have caused this evil king to escape death for many days. Then, he seized a sharp sword intending to kill his mother. My understanding. Prince Ajatasatru asked the guards if his father was still alive in his cell. And the guard said yes. The guard told Ajatasatru about the queen feeding the king honey flour paste and giving him grape juice hidden in her ornaments, and how the king had been listening to Maudgalyana and Purna's Dharma teachings. The guards couldn't do anything. Hearing about what's been going on, Ajatasatru flew into a rage. That turned into hatred for his mother, Queen Vaidehi. He called his mother a criminal siding with another criminal. Also, he called the monks evil and accused them of using spells to delude and help the king stay alive. And then, he grabbed a sword and intended to kill his mother with it. Sutra says, at that time, there was a wise and intelligent minister whose name was Moonlight. Along with Javaka, he bowed to the king and said, Your Majesty, we have heard it said in the Vedic discourses that since the beginning of this eon, there have been 18,000 evil kings who had killed their own fathers because they desired the throne, yet never have we heard of anyone who committed the heinous crime of killing his mother. Your Majesty, if you commit such a vicious murder, you will disgrace the Kshatriyas. We cannot even bear to hear of it, for this indeed is the act of a Chandala. We cannot stay here any longer. My understanding. At that time, the intelligent and wise minister, Moonlight, and the kind-hearted physician, Javaka, bowed to Prince Ajatasatru and told him that recorded in the Vedic classics since the beginning of history. There have been 18,000 evil kings who killed their fathers for the throne. They added that they'd never heard of people killing their mothers. What an outrageous crime that is. Both reminded Ajatasatru that if he continued with his rage and really killed his mother, it will be going against the rules of heaven, and would disgrace their noble rank in the caste system of India. In this system, rulers belong to the rank of Kshatriyas. Only the Brahmins are ranked higher than the Kshatriyas. Nobles like the Kshatriyas cannot commit such crimes. Neither could bear watching what Ajatasatru was about to do. Their family name and social status were very well respected. The clan will not acknowledge someone who killed their mother. The power and influence of family and tradition was very strong. Even the prince feared disrespecting it. The two officials said specifically, we cannot even bear to hear of it, for this indeed is the act of a Chandala. We cannot stay here any longer. The four ranks are Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Butchers don't belong to any of the four ranks. They're the lowest of the low in society, without a rank even. Killing your own mother is an act of the outcasts, no different from a butcher. Moonlight and Javaka said that they couldn't stay with such a ruler. Next, Sutra says, having spoken these words, the two ministers began to withdraw. Each with his hand grasping his sword. Astounded and fearful, Ajatasatru called out to Javaka and said, "Are you going to desert me?" Javaka replied, "Great king, restrain yourself, and do not harm your mother." Hearing this, the king repented and begged their forgiveness. Immediately, he put away his sword and stopped the urge to kill his mother. Instead, he ordered that she be confined to her residence, so that she could not leave again. My understanding. After warning Ajatasatru, the two ministers were set to leave the palace, holding their swords. Hearing what they said, Ajatasatru became worried. He asked Javaka, "Are you leaving me? You will no longer help me?" Deep down, he knew that his ministers cared a lot about him. Being a wise physician, Javaka gave Ajatasatru one last warning. Restrain himself and stop any thoughts of hurting his mother. Ajatasatru listened to their words, repented and asked for forgiveness. As a young prince who had never ruled before, Ajatasatru knew he must keep his ministers at all cost. That's why he was worried about losing them. Putting away his sword, Ajatasatru begged for forgiveness. He finally gave up on the idea of killing his mother. He then gave an order to have the queen locked up in her room, so that she couldn't bring food to the king ever again. At that time, Prince Ajatasatru still hated his father. What actually happened between Ajatasatru, Vaidehi and King Bimbisara? What ties do they have besides parent and child? A long time ago, years after King Bimbisara and Vaidehi's marriage, they were longing endlessly for a child, yet they had no luck. They even went looking for sages and had their fortunes read. One of the sages they went to was known for his accurate predictions. So he told King Bimbisara and Vaidehi that they'd be blessed with a child, thanks to their continual offerings to heaven. The sage had many mystical powers. He told them that their future child was alive right this moment, living out his current lifetime. He's a self-cultivator who lived and practiced deep in the mountains. This practitioner had already cultivated for a long time. Many people knew of him. The king sent someone to check and indeed found the practitioner alive and well. The impatient King Bimbisara obviously couldn't wait that long. Funny ideas arose in his mind. What if this practitioner died suddenly? Say he fell off a cliff somehow. That would speed things up, right? The fortune-telling sage told King Bimbisara that the practitioner still had 3 years to live. But the king was very impatient. He was worried that he and the queen were short of time due to their mature age. They wanted a son soon. So he finally gave the order to have the practitioner killed. The sooner he died, the sooner the prince could be born. That's what the king thought. The order was carried out successfully. After that was done, because the king knew that it was fated to be, he and the queen waited for the reincarnation of the practitioner as their child. He'd always longed for a successor. His child would be the prince and take over the throne one day. While the king was waiting, the sage made another prediction. The prince would grow up and harm the king. Because of this, right after the prince was born, he was tossed out the window by the king in hope he'd fall to his death. The young prince sustained injuries but managed to survive the fall. The king should have had the young prince killed right away. But, he had a change of mind. He suddenly realized that this was the child he'd been waiting a long time for. So he decided to raise him properly, so his son would succeed him as the next king. Yes, that boy was Ajatasatru. So the love, hate and karmic connections between the father and son began like this. Regardless of whether he was incited to kill his father or not, the king did die by his hands. And he even wanted to kill his mother too. Before her death, Vaidehi prayed for Buddha's help to save her life. This is how this story came about. It's all karma. Next, Sutra says, having thus been confined, Vaidehi was stricken with sorrow and grief. Facing the faraway vulture peak, she prostrated herself towards the Buddha and said, Tathagata, world-honored one, in former times you never failed to send Ananda to come and comfort me. Now I am greatly distressed and have no way to look upon world-honored one's majesty. I pray, send the venerable Maudgalyana and the venerable Ananda to come and meet with me. Having said this, she wept sorrowful tears that fell like rain, as she bowed to the Buddha. My understanding. After being locked up, Vaidehi was depressed and sad. Facing the direction of Vulture Peak, she prostrated toward the Buddha and told the Buddha that he always sent Ananda to her aid whenever she needed help. And now, in her devastated state, she asked the Buddha to send the venerable Maudgalyana and Ananda to aid her. After saying her prayers, she broke down in tears. As she bowed in the direction of the Buddha, Sutra says, but even before she raised her head, the world-honored one, who was then staying on Vulture Peak, and knew the thoughts in Vaidehi's mind, ordered great Maudgalyana and Ananda to go in the sky. The Buddha also disappeared from Vulture Peak and reappeared in the royal palace. When Vaidehi finished her prostration and raised her head, she saw the world-honored one, Sakyamuni Buddha. His body was the color of purple gold and he was seated on 100-jeweled lotus flower, attended by Maudgalyana on his left side and Ananda on his right. Sakra and Brahma, along with the other heavenly guardians, hovered in the sky about him. Heavenly flowers filled the sky like rain, as offerings to the Buddha. My understanding, before she even raised her head from her prostration, the Buddha, at Vulture Peak, already knew what was on Vaidehi's mind. He immediately sent Maudgalyana and Ananda to Vaidehi's side. The Buddha then left Vulture Peak and appeared in the royal chamber. When Vaidehi was done prostrating and lifted her head up, she saw Sakyamuni Buddha in his purple gold image, sitting on a 100-jeweled lotus flower. Maudgalyana was attending at his left and Ananda at his right. Sakra and Brahma, these heavenly deities along with other divine guardians, were also there, hovering in the sky. These are the high-ranked deities and the heavenly guardians. Like the 8 legions of heavenly beings and dragon-like beings, the sky was raining flowers. They were offerings to the Buddha, for his use. Sutra says, when Vaidehi saw the Buddha, world-honored one, she removed her ornaments, rose, and prostrated on the ground. Weeping bitterly, she faced the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, what crime did I commit in the past, that should cause the birth of such an evil son? World-honored one, what were the karmic conditions that caused you to become a family relative of Devdatta? My only wish is for the world-honored one to expound on a place without distress where I might be reborn. I do not like the turbid and evil world of Jambudvipa. This turbid and evil world is full of hell beings, hungry ghosts and beasts, and the unkind who gather here. I pray that in the future I may hear no evil sounds and see no evil beings." Prostrating on the ground before world-honored one, I plead and repent. I pray for Buddha's power to teach me to contemplate a place of pure and kind karma. My understanding. At that moment, when Queen Vaidehi saw Sakyamuni Buddha standing before her, she quickly removed all her decorations and ornaments, and her crown too. For someone as noble as a queen, it's normal to wear many ornaments, to show high social status. Being a queen, Vaidehi was used to people bowing to her. Now, she was going to bow to the Buddha, so she removed all her ornaments. Prostrating on the ground, she wept and asked Buddha what sin she had committed to give birth to such an evil child. She also asked the Buddha what karmic reasons were there for him to be related to such an evil person, that is Devdatta. She asked the Buddha to show her a place without distress or worry. The queen wished to be reborn in such a place. She no longer wanted to stay in the human realm filled with evil and suffering. She was implying that the human realm was just like hell, filled with hellish and evil beings. No one knew the truth or the right way. She wished to be reborn in a place where she wouldn't encounter evil, where there would be no evil happenings and no wrongdoers. Then, she fully prostrated before Buddha and asked for Buddha's forgiveness, and for him to accept her sincere repentance. She asked for the wisdom to visualize a place to calm her body and mind down, and to soothe her heart and body. Sutra says, at that time, the world-honored one emitted a golden light from between his eyebrows. It illuminated all the countless worlds of the 10 directions, and upon returning, rested atop the Buddha's head, forming a golden tower resembling Mount Sumeru. The pure and wondrous worlds of all the Buddhas of the 10 directions manifested in the tower. Some of these lands were made of 7 kinds of jewels. Other lands consisted entirely of lotus flowers. Other lands resembled the heavenly palace of Isvara, and other lands were like crystal mirrors. All the lands of the 10 directions manifested. These countless lands of the Buddhas, including their solemnness and majesty, could be seen by Vaidehi. My understanding. At that moment, a ray of light was emitted from between Buddha's eyebrows. Let's talk about this light. Some people have more facial hair than others. For example, the Westerners and the South Asians. Their eyebrows and beard are thicker than ours. Sometimes, you'll see some curly hair between their eyebrows. This hair could be white or other colors. It's not the actual eyebrow hair, it's the thinner and softer hair that grows on the body. It's describing that hair. The light that was emitted from between Sakyamuni Buddha's eyebrows was golden. And it lit up every corner of the universe and endless other worlds. It was that kind of state you can visualize as I explain. And then, the rays of light returned to the top of Buddha's head. Forming a golden tower as tall as Mount Sumeru. The image of the mountain is just a blurry image, but the light was real. Within this light that was as vast as a mountain, different realms of paradise could be seen. It displayed like clear images within the light. Queen Vaidehi knelt there and gazed at the light. She saw the realms of the Buddhas of the 10 directions. Some of the realms were made of jewels, some consisted entirely of lotus flowers. Some of them looked like the divine palaces from the heavens. Some looked like they were formed by translucent, clear crystals, very beautiful. These were the realms that appeared in the light. As a mortal, Vaidehi witnessed all these miracles. With her mortal eyes. The solemn scene of countless Buddhas' pure lands was clearly visible to Vaidehi's human eyes. And then, Vaidehi said to Buddha. Sutra says, then, Vaidehi said to the Buddha, World-honored one, all these Buddha lands are pure and full of illumination. I would like to be born in the world of ultimate bliss where the Amitabha Buddha resides. I pray that the world-honored one can instruct me in how to concentrate and attain samadhi. My understanding. Vaidehi told Buddha that she understood the beauty of the realms of the Buddhas. But there was only one place that she wanted to go. And that was the realm of the Western paradise. She asked Buddha to teach her the method of getting there. Next, Sutra says, at that time, the world-honored one gently smiled, and from the Buddha's mouth emerged 5-colored light. Each ray of light illuminating the top of Bimbisara's head. At that time, although the great king was confined, his mind's eye was unhindered and he saw the world-honored one. Touching his forehead to the ground in reverence, he spontaneously advanced to the stage of Anagami. My understanding. Hearing what Vaidehi said, Sakyamuni Buddha smiled compassionately. Beautiful 5-colored rays of light emerged from his mouth. Each ray of light illuminating the top of King Bimbisara's head. The king, although locked up, remained free and unobstructed in his mind's eye. He saw the Buddha and prostrated as a sign of his respect and reverence. He kept singing praises of him. At that moment, he gained an immeasurable amount of merits and achieved the state of non-returner, without any troubles caused by desires. In Hinayana Buddhism, this achievement ranks below the state of an arhat. Sutra says, at that time, the world-honored one said to Vaidehi, "Don't you know that the Amitabha Buddha is not far from here? You should concentrate your thoughts and contemplate the people in that Buddha land who have succeeded through pure karma. I shall now give you detailed instructions, so that you and the future sentient beings who desire to cultivate the pure karma may attain birth in the Western world of ultimate bliss." My understanding. Buddha told Vaidehi that the Amitabha Buddha is not far away. And that with reverence, she should focus her thoughts on visualizing the realm of paradise. Buddha told Vaidehi that he would reveal the way to achieve enlightenment, so that all destined beings could practice their ways to be reborn in the realm of paradise. Next, Sutra says, those who desire to be born in that land must perform the 3 meritorious acts. First, they should attend dutifully to their parents, honor and care for teachers and elders, with a compassionate mind, refrain from killing, cultivate the 10 virtuous acts. Second, they should receive and uphold the 3 refuges, keep the various precepts, and refrain from breaking the rules of conduct. Third, they should awaken the Bodhisattva, deeply believe in the principle of karma, read and recite the Mahayana teachings, and encourage those who practice the way. These 3 are called the pure karma. My understanding. Those who wish to reach the Western Pure Land should practice the 3 meritorious acts. 1. Be filial to parents, respect elders. Practice compassion and refrain from killing. And cultivate the 10 virtuous acts. 2. They should take refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Obey the precepts and conduct themselves like true self-cultivation practitioners. 3. They should have the mind that aspires to enlightenment, as well as believe in karma, read and be well versed in the Mahayana teachings, and encourage others to practice diligently. These 3 acts are the basics needed to achieve enlightenment. Since the concept of 10 virtuous acts is mentioned, let's go through them. 1. No killing. 2. No stealing. 3. No sexual misconduct. 4. No harsh words. 5. No slandering. 6. No false speech. 7. No frivolous words. 8. No greed. 9. No hate. 10. No ignorance. These are the 10 virtuous acts. Sutra says, the Buddha further said to Vaidehi, "Do you now know? These 3 kinds of karma are the pure karma, and true cause for the enlightenment of all the Buddhas of the past, present and future." My understanding. The Buddha further added that these 3 kinds of virtuous deeds are the main reasons that all Buddhas achieve enlightenment. Regardless of the timeline, past, present, or future. Sutra says, the Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehi, listen attentively, ponder and remember this well. I, the Tathagata, will now expound the pure karma for the benefit of the future sentient beings who are tormented by the bandits of afflictions. Excellent is this Vaidehi, who has done well to ask about this. My understanding. The Buddha told Ananda and Vaidehi to listen closely and contemplate what was said next. The Buddha was going to reveal the ways to achieve enlightenment for all suffering beings who seek self-liberation in the future. The Buddha praised Vaidehi for asking this question. Sutra says, Ananda, you should receive and uphold the Buddha's words, and proclaim them widely to the multitudes of beings. I, the Tathagata, will now instruct Vaidehi and all the future sentient beings in the contemplation of the Western world of ultimate bliss. By the power of the Buddha, they will see that pure land as clearly as seeing their own images in a bright mirror. When they see that land and its ultimate and wondrous joy, they will rejoice and immediately acquire complete and pure wisdom that is not born and does not cease. My understanding. The Buddha told Ananda to remember what he was going to say, and spread it far and wide for all to hear. It's about how to visualize the realm of the Western paradise. With the Buddha's blessings, people will see it so clearly. As if they're looking at their own mirror reflection. When people see and rejoice over the wonderful things of that realm, they shall obtain eternal wisdom that doesn't perish. Sutra says, the Buddha said to Vaidehi, you are an ordinary person whose mental abilities are weak and feeble. As you have not attained the divine eye, you cannot see very far. But the Buddhas and Tathagatas have special means to allow you to see it. My understanding. The Buddha told Vaidehi that with the limited capacity of a mortal to understand the truth, and without the divine eye ability, she wouldn't be able to see beyond the mortal realm. However, with the Buddha's divine power, everything is possible. King Bimbisara and Vaidehi were both in their 70s at that time. They lived in ancient India. Their age was equivalent to 300 years old and above in modern day. They were already both nearing the end of their lifespan on earth. 35 years old in ancient India was already considered a long life. In their 70s, it was pretty much like they were 300 years old already. Their lives were coming to an end soon. At that time, Vaidehi was already slow in her movements due to old age. That was a sign she was already nearing her end. That's how it was when we talk about Sakyamuni Buddha saving her. It's not about releasing her from the prison. What for? She was not going to live long anyway. The Buddha wanted to give her eternal life. Vaidehi mentioned that she wanted to reach a place without evil. For example, evil sons who torture their parents. You'll find no such things in the realm of paradise. In paradise, everything lives eternally. Therefore, if we wanted to live on even after our lives have ended, the realm of Western paradise would be a good choice. Amitabha Buddha also has another name, the Buddha of infinite life, the Buddha of infinite illumination, or infinite wisdom. The Buddha of infinite life is more recognized. The title of the sutra in Chinese mentions infinite life. The Buddha describes what paradise is like and shows us how to get to paradise. This is a concept. No matter how much you cultivate your body, it'll die someday. It's like driving a car. No matter how good it is, it'll break down at its limit. Instead of replacing its parts, it's better to buy a new car. The human body is like this, it's written in our genes. It was already set when humans were first created. We can live to be around 100 at most. Those that live till 110 and more are very rare cases. They might have taken some miracle drug for that to happen. There's no way otherwise. Now you know there's a place where we can live forever. A place where everything is good and wonderful. What's my opinion on learning about the concept of paradise? Do you want to know? Think of it as a spiritual update. Everyone uses computers and smartphones nowadays, right? Your gadgets will need to be updated once in a while, right? That's similar to what you're doing now. You might say that it's too early to talk about this, because you're still alive now. But a spiritual update is not bad. Your body and appearance are still the same. But you're spiritually updated and you're no longer ignorant. You'd become more fulfilled, compassionate and positive-minded. True transformation lies inside, not outside. Illuminate your heart and make yourself greater. This is a spiritual update. Buddhism is about learning to think and act like a Buddha. We learn about the Buddha's compassion, wisdom and mind purity. That's what you need to transform your life. I think we'll stop here. Before we end today's lesson, let's chant the Buddha's name 3 times.
Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha.
That's 6 chants altogether. If you add the 3 chants at the beginning, you shall benefit from this physically and mentally. How can chanting in today's lesson help you? After you listen to my teachings about this sutra, if you do as I say, your karma for 10 lifetimes will be eliminated. Got it. Thank you, Master. I wish you health and longevity. Got it. I wish you fulfillment and auspiciousness. Got it. Lots of Dharma joy. Got it. See you next time. Thank you, Master.